It was just another ordinary Monday at Lincoln High, a prestigious performing arts school nestled in the suburbs of Atlanta. The air was buzzing with rehearsals and echoes of classical piano and jazz trumpet as students prepared for the upcoming annual music showcase, a highly competitive event that attracted scouts, agents, and national media. In the far corner of the main auditorium, a man in a faded blue jumpsuit pushed a mop across the shiny wood floors. His name was Maurice. Students barely glanced his way. He was the janitor, older, quiet, black, and often invisible. Maurice had worked at Lincoln High for almost a decade. He came in before sunrise, cleaned the empty classrooms, tuned the old pianos when no one was watching, and left long after the lights dimmed. Despite being surrounded by some of the nation's most talented young musicians, no one ever thought to ask him if he knew music. Why would they? He wore beat-up work boots. His hands were calloused, not from guitar strings but from lifting trash bins. His face was tired, and his shoulders slouched from years of unnoticed labor. He always carried a ring of keys, never an instrument. That week, students were buzzing about a guest judge for the showcase, a legendary record producer named Miles Stenson. He had discovered talents like D'Angelo, Alicia Keys, and John Mayer. Rumor was he was looking for someone raw, someone real. And everyone wanted to be that someone. One student, Trevor Manning, was a senior and the arrogant frontrunner. With a $10,000 Gibson Les Paul hanging around his neck and a designer jacket over his shoulder, he strutted through the halls as if he already had a record deal. His bandmates, a trio of rich, cocky teens, hung on his every note. One afternoon, as the group practiced on stage, Trevor's amp began to buzz with static. "Who messed with my settings?" Trevor barked. Mr. Halbrook, the music director, tried adjusting the input cables. "Maybe it's the guitar," he mumbled. "No way. This is a Les Paul. You don't question a Les Paul." Maurice, who had been quietly sweeping backstage, paused for a moment and watched. The distortion coming through the amp was familiar. He recognized the frequency, a grounding issue. But he stayed silent. He moved closer to the edge of the stage. "Need some help?" he asked softly. Trevor turned. "Oh, look. The janitor wants to be a sound tech now." Laughter echoed from the band. Maurice didn't flinch. "Might be your cable grounding out. Happens when the jack gets loose. I could take a look." Trevor sneered. "And what would you know about guitars, old man? You clean floors." More laughter. Maurice looked at the instrument. "That's a beautiful guitar. But you're choking her with those thick strings. That sound ain't breathing right." The room went still. Even Mr. Halbrook raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me," Trevor said. "You're pushing too much weight for a clean tone. Try a lighter gauge. Or better yet." Maurice glanced at an old Fender Strat resting on a nearby stand. "Try something that sings with your fingers, not fights them." Trevor chuckled and turned to his bandmates. "Y'all hearing this? The janitor is giving me guitar lessons." One of the drummers chimed in. "Yeah, maybe next he'll show us how to play jazz with a broom." The laughter was cruel. Maurice sighed. "Didn't mean no harm." He began to walk away. Mr. Halbrook, curious and slightly annoyed by the student's arrogance, called out, "Maurice, do you play?" Maurice turned and looked at the Fender on the stand. He hesitated. "Used to." Trevor smirked. "Go ahead. Let's hear the guitar whisperer play." The students laughed again. "Come on, man," said another. "1 minute of your mop concert and we'll give you back your dignity." Mr. Halbrook silenced them with a stern look. Maurice stood there a moment. Then slowly, like someone returning to an old memory, he stepped up onto the stage. The room quieted, partly in anticipation, partly in mockery. He picked up the Fender, adjusted the strap with familiarity, and plugged it into the amp. His fingers brushed the strings gently. He twisted a tuning knob with the kind of precision that comes from years, not months, of experience. Then, he played. At first, Just a few soft notes. Bluesy, delicate. The kind of tone that made the air hum. The laughter stopped. He closed his eyes and let his fingers dance. The sound that came out was not flashy, not fast. It was soul. Every bend of the string cried with emotion. Every slide was like a whispered story. The auditorium fell silent, as if time had frozen. Even the cocky students forgot to smirk. Maurice played a version of Little Wing by Hendrix, stripped down, raw, and painfully beautiful. His calloused fingers caressed the fretboard as if it were an old friend. The notes wept, laughed, healed, and ached, all at once. When he finally finished, no one said a word. Trevor's jaw hung slack. One of the girls from the jazz band had tears in her eyes. Mr. Halbrook clapped first. Then the others joined in, slowly, almost embarrassed, until the entire auditorium echoed with applause. But Maurice said nothing. He gently placed the guitar back on its stand, nodded to the stunned students, and quietly walked off the stage, mop in hand. Trevor's voice finally broke the silence. Who is he? Mr. Halbrook replied, still staring at the spot where Maurice had stood. His name's Maurice Ellis. Used to tour with some of the greats back in the day. Played with B.B. King once, I think. Trevor's mouth went dry. He was a legend, Halbrook added. Until he walked away. Why? No one knows. Maybe he got tired of the spotlight. Maybe life happened. But he's been here, in this school, long before you picked up your first guitar. Trevor stared at the old mop still leaning against the wall backstage, the same mop Maurice had traded his spotlight for. And for the first time, he felt small. Very small.